Hi, I'm Tom Hirschberger, and today we are going to talk about market-driven business strategies. And your business strategy should be the guiding force behind everything you do. It will dictate what products or services you offer, how you price them, what types of promotions and advertising you do, and what types of vehicles you use for the promotions and advertising. Strategy is all about knowing what outcomes you want to achieve and then putting the plan into action for getting it done. Now, I want to talk a little bit about my experience and why you should be listening to me today. I started out as a chemical engineer in technology development with Kimberly-Clark, which is a far cry from market-driven business strategies. And I served as a process engineer at one of their production facilities. From there, I led several cross-functional business units in product development. I received MBA in brand management about 19 years ago. And since then, I've worked on the brand side with Johnson Wax, Oscar Mayer Kraft Foods, Wisconsin Milk Marketing Board, and I spent 3 years as a national consultant to the dairy industry, working on product innovation and market strategy. About a year and a half ago, I formed my own company, and one of the things I really had to do is figure out what process can I use to help communicate my core beliefs and the strategy to potential clients. What I did is, based on my experience, put together the critical elements that are common to top national brands and really why these top national brands are successful. And that's what I'm going to present to you today. I call it the market-driven business strategy. And I'll take you through the steps. The first one is your strategic vision. And that's the guiding force behind everything else. And you'll note that the steps are in a cycle. Each step is dependent on the step preceding it. But when you're done with the cycle, you don't stop there because it keeps going back around. So the next one is your value proposition. What problem do you solve and why is that important? Next, we get to customer targeting. Who is your core target? From there, it's product positioning. So who's in your competitive set? How do you differentiate your product in a way that's meaningful, relevant, and compelling to your core targets? Next, we have our messaging strategy. One of the key things to remember here is you need continuity of messaging across all touch points throughout your company. Next is the go-to-market plan. So what's the tactical steps and critical success drivers needed to put everything into motion? And then we have execution. Let's actually do the plan. And then evaluation. How can we validate some of our assumptions and make sure we are getting the outcome that we intend? So let's dig into that a little bit. For strategic vision, the first question is, what does success look like to you? What is your vision of the preferred future for your company or for your department? Now, you need to be very intentional about this. If you're not specific and if you don't know precisely what success looks like, you're going to have a lot of trouble communicating that to others, and also you're probably not going to realize it when you've actually achieved success, if that ever happens. A quote I like is from Zig Ziglar, and he says that it's hard to hit a target you can't see, but it's impossible to hit a target that you don't even have. Strategic vision is also very personal. It's based on what you want to accomplish. So for you, that's going to be different than the strategic vision I would have. Do you want to make money? Do you want to grow your company? Do you want to have a good work-life balance? These are all questions you need to consider. And strategic vision also serves as an anchor point for the rest of the process. Hopefully, it's not going to change very often, and that's why I've decoupled it from the rest of the cycle. There are three different elements to the strategic vision. The first one I call is current state. Where are you right now? And in order to know that, you need to put together a comprehensive situation analysis. And that's going to essentially tell you what the lay of the land is for your products, your customers, your key competitors. What are some of the things you need to know? What are some of the trends in the industry? What are some of the strengths and weaknesses inside of your company? And what are some of the external opportunities and threats? So you would need to do a SWOT analysis for that. So once you know the current state, then you develop your vision for the preferred future, and I call that the future state. What do you want to accomplish? What is success going to look like to you and your company? So you have your current state and your future state, but there's a big space in between, a big gap, if you will, and we essentially call this a gap analysis. And the market-driven business strategy will enable you to bridge the gap to get from your current state up to your desired future state. So that's the strategic vision. And remember, that will shape the rest of the market-driven business strategy. So it's very important to get that right. The next step is the value proposition. And there are a couple of questions to consider on this. First off, what are your core products or services? What features, advantages, and benefits do you offer? What problems do you solve? And why are those problems important to your core target? The next step is refining your value proposition, so you can say it in a single sentence that resonates with your target customer and is instantly believable by them. Everything else in the process follows on the value proposition. It's how you define your target customers. It's how you structure your product positioning and how you talk about it in your messaging strategy. So until you have your value proposition down and are able to come up with, some people call it an elevator speech, so you can say it quickly, succinctly, in a way that people are going to get it. Stop right there, get that right, and then move on to the next step. And the next step is customer targeting. And for this, the start is, who is your target customer? What you want to do is identify a person who is right at the bullseye center of your target, and then create a bio or persona for that. Now, I spent a lot of my life in CPG industry, consumer packaged goods, targeting women age 25 to 54. They were middle to upper income, probably had 2 children, and lived in A and B counties. Now, A and B counties means larger counties or cities. So for counties, there's A, B, C, and D. C and D counties are more rural. A and B counties are higher population densities. So that's a good target. And matter of fact, that's the consumer target that most consumer products used. Women do most of the shopping. So you want to target them. The age range is typically 25 to 54. And it's all good. It's based on a lot of research. The problem is, it's not very effective. It's not very actionable. If I want to evaluate a promotional plan, and that's my core target, that's big enough to drive a truck through. And there's so many nuances within that target, I'm really not going to know, is this promotion or is this advertising going to work? Because I don't know who my core target is, except for the basic demographics and potentially some psychographics about that customer. Now, psychographics are what they believe or what they feel, as opposed to demographics, which is who they are, age, income, education, kids, that type of thing. So a more actionable target would be this. Her name is Angie Sullivan. She's 30 years old. She has 3 kids. Bill is 7, Sarah is 5, and Steve is 2. Angie is a stay-at-home mom. She has a BA in history from the University of Wisconsin. She enjoys biking and gardening. She's a fitness fanatic. She listens to country music. And she has a passion for the environment. Now, based on that, I hope you get a feeling for who my core target is. And also based on that information, now I'm able to develop effective promotion, advertising, communication strategies that are really going to resonate with my core target. In this case, it's going to be Angie. Now, Angie doesn't have to be a real person, but she does have to be representative of my bullseye target. The theory behind this is if it works for Angie and she's right at the center, this is going to work for most of my target as well. One of the other benefits is that if I see something come across my desk, or if I'm working with an ad agency and they develop a campaign, I'm going to instantly know if this isn't right for Angie. And it helps me to put in things into 3 different categories. One is, sure, this is going to work great. It resonates with her, and I think it'll be a great promotion. The other category is, you know what, this is way off target. And there's no way Angie is going to either believe what you're saying or it's not real meaningful to her. And then the third category is somewhere in between. You know what? Parts of it might work, parts of it might not. So let's do a little more research and make sure Angie's representative and follow up with that. So it really helps you to better understand your core target and how to reach them. And let me give you a personal example. One of the companies I'm working with right now is in the biotech industry. And they make a little protein test. And it's a new technology. It's probably the best technology in the world for what it does. And I've done some research into it, and I believe that to be true. Now, they have 2 different target audiences. They sell this product for academic research. And academic research is about 10% of their sales. So not insignificant, but pretty small. However, academic research is highly influential for their product. They're writing the white papers, they're doing the research, they're giving the presentations that validate this technology. So it's a very important target. Their other target is industry, and they're selling the product directly to industry. Matter of fact, that's 90% of their sales, and it's what helps them keep the lights on. Now, this company doesn't have a whole lot of money. So what they decided to do is develop the single best positioning and single best strategy that's going to talk to both of their customer segments. And on the surface, that makes a lot of sense. Let's have one message, let's get behind that, and have continuity in everything we say and do. And that's something I preach. However, in this case, it doesn't work. The needs of academic research are very different from the needs of industry. And they put together a good message, however, it's not especially meaningful or relevant to either of the groups. So basically, they missed both of them. As a result, they have the best product in the world, or the best technology for what it does, and they have less than 1% market share, and they're scratching their heads trying to figure out what the problem is. Well, the problem is exactly this. You need to clearly identify who your core target is, and then use that target when building your product positioning and messaging strategy. And it's okay to have different core targets, but that means for each core target, you're going to have to change or evolve your message. Okay, for customer targeting, it's easy to identify the bullseye target and develop a persona or bio for that person if you're actually targeting consumers. A lot of companies are targeting businesses, and for business to business, It's similar, but there are some nuances to it. So for business to business, the first step is to determine what business is right at the bullseye center of your target. And then within that business, who is the decision maker or key influencer that's going to let you in the door or help to buy your product or services? From there, the process is essentially the same. Let's develop a bio or persona based on that key decision maker or influencer within the business. And again, this doesn't have to be a real person, but it needs to be representative of the person in that position. And you should think about what's most important to her. What are some of her challenges? How can I position my product that would be meaningful, relevant, and compelling to this key decision maker? So let's talk about product positioning. One of the key things here is to understand who is in your competitive set. Now, typically, this will be other companies that have products similar to yours or that customers could use in place of your product. However, a lot of companies like to expand this. One company I worked with made pet toys, and they had the largest competitive set, as they defined it, that I've ever seen. Of course, it would be include other companies that make pet toys. They were mainly focused on dogs, so it would include cat food companies and bird food companies, because if you have a cat or a bird, you might not have a dog, or you might not spend as much time with your dog. But they also expanded it to include Xbox, Game Boy, Wii, after-school sports, just about anything you could do other than playing with your dog. And it's a pretty big company. This is about a $300 million brand. And they've done a lot of research, a lot of sophisticated research. They have a lot of very smart people working there. And their competitive set is highly accurate, and they validated this competitive set. The problem is it's not very actionable, and it's left them with some challenges. So as you're developing a promotion, it's easy to target customers of other dog toy products, but it's a lot more challenging when you view your competitive set as everything else that your customer could do except for playing with their dog. They've gone through numerous advertising agencies. They do not have the awareness in the market that they otherwise could have because they're somewhat disjointed. And in order to correct this, they need to pull back in a little bit. And again, it's okay to have a large competitive set, but if you do that, you need to have a couple of tiers. Tier 1 should be competitive companies, other products or services that customers could use as a replacement for yours. And then Tier 2 and Tier 3 could expand from there. Another example would be the Madison Zoo. Their Tier 1 might be other zoos. It might be the Milwaukee Zoo. It might be the Brookfield Zoo. Tier 2 could be other services like Madison Children's Museum, public parks, other things like that that families could go to instead of the zoo. And by looking at all of this, they're able to much more effectively position their promotions. So that's product positioning. Moving on, the next step is messaging strategy. And that's all about what is the best way to communicate your product positioning to your target customers based on your value proposition. It includes the words and images you choose to communicate your FABs, your features, advantages, and benefits. And it also includes the communication vehicles you choose. Now, for advertising and promotion, there's a lot of different communication vehicles to choose from. It could be TV, it could be print ads, it could be websites, it could be social media, it could be some type of interactive, it could be outdoor billboards. There's a large mix to choose from, but it should all be based on your messaging strategy and also your budget. Now, messaging strategy boils down to one main question. How do you want consumers to think or behave differently after they hear what you have to say? Oftentimes I'm asked to evaluate different promotional campaigns or look at an ad and say, is this a good ad or not? And I never answer the question directly because first I need to know, based on this ad, based on this promotion, how do you want your core customers to think or act differently? Once we know the answer to that, I'd be happy to evaluate it. But until we can answer that question, we have no business putting together any type of advertising or promotional strategy. So let's talk about features, advantages, benefits, and outcomes. This is a very important point that most new companies struggle with, and even established companies, especially ones that are a little more technical, have problems with. So your feature is what your product or service has. What is your product or service? The advantage is what your features do. And that leads us into benefit. And that's what your advantage means to the buyer. And finally, we come to outcome. And that's a personal example or testimony on the benefits. Customers want to buy benefits and outcomes. Your features and advantages are important, but only in as much as they make the benefits and outcomes more believable to your customers. Here's a good example from my personal experience. I have 3 children, and I was recently in the market to buy a car seat. As I looked at the ads for the car seats, they're very feature focused, talking about the strap positions, talking about the clips that enable the outer cover to come off. And that was interesting to me, so I read a little bit further. And the feature is the product had some clips that enable me to remove the outer cover. And the advantage was that the cover was easier for me to wash. And that's as far as they went. They did not get all the way to benefits in the advertisement or in any of the product literature. Now, for me, that advantage is important, but primarily because any small kid is going to at some point spit up on their car seat. And 3 years from now, I don't want to open my door on a hot summer day and have the car seat smell like vomit. That's a little gross, but it's really what I was looking for in a car seat, something that would retain a little bit more of the freshness or at least not smell horrible. So for me, the benefit was not that you could take it and wash it. For me, the benefit was that it was going to smell better throughout the life of the car seat. So let's go into another example on that because I really want everybody to get features, advantages, benefits, and outcomes. So say our product was an ergonomic pen. In this example, the feature would be a Y-shaped design, right? And a lot of the advertising would talk about the new innovative shape. The advantage would be it's more comfortable to use, and the advertising might even touch on that. But the real benefit is that I'm able to write for a longer period of time without fatigue. And if we get all the way to outcome, it could be someone talking about, or a personal testimony, someone saying, you know what, I have carpal tunnel, and I had to stop writing because of the pain in my hand. With this new Ergo pen, my symptoms are gone. And that is what customers are looking to buy. So you need to have the features, you need to talk about the advantages, but spend most of your time focusing on the benefits, and when possible, take it all the way to outcomes. Let me tell you about another story where this is just dramatic impact that an outcome can have on a product. I was a brand manager at Oscar Mayer, and one of my products was Louis Rich turkey bacon. And the feature was this product, it was made out of turkey, and it was lower in fat. We had white meat for the bacon part that's supposed to look like fat, and then dark meat for the bacon part that's supposed to look like the meat. And it was actually a pretty tasty product. But the main benefit people were looking for, or the main feature, is that it was lower in fat. The advantage is that it helped them lose weight. And that's important. The benefit is the reason why you want to lose the weight is so you look better, so you're more healthy. And all of that was meaningful. And we use that in our promotion materials. It was a smaller brand. We had some regional strengths. We were probably the number 2 or number 3 brand between Turkey Store and Jennie-O. And one day, back in 1994, Oprah comes out on her show and holds up a package of Louis Rich turkey bacon. And this was back in her skinny days. And says, you know what? This product changed my life. Because of Louis Rich turkey bacon, I lost 40 pounds, and I've been able to keep it off ever since. Now that's quite an outcome. The impact was dramatic. We had sales increase of over 200%. Our factories could barely keep up. We almost had to put the product on allocation, which means we couldn't fulfill all of our orders. And it launched us into the number 1 brand spot, which we held for the next several years. All because Oprah stood up one time on her show and said, this product changed my life. Outcomes are very powerful. If you can identify the specific outcomes that your product delivers to your core target, you will have a much easier time with everything you do. So, messaging strategy, back to that. It's really about how you want your customers to think or act differently after they hear what you have to say. Next, let's talk about the go-to-market plan. And this is the tactical plan that's going to help you achieve your vision. It's the who, the what, the when, the where, and the how you get things done. First, you need to identify what your critical success drivers are, and then develop appropriate checkpoints in the system so you know if you're actually getting the kind of results you're looking for. In this stage, you also want to create the competitive response strategies need. So when you do start having success and your competition steps it up a notch, you're able to respond appropriately. One of the other things I like to do is identify any of the complementary companies, products, or services that can help to lighten our load and to be more successful faster. Now, one of the things you need to look for is a company or service that has the same target but is not a direct competitor. So this could be a complementary product, or it could be a product that has absolutely nothing to do with yours, but they just happen to have the same customer target. A good example of this is when I was working with cheese. We did a lot of work with the cracker company, specifically Keebler crackers, and because they had a great brand awareness, they had great brand image, and they had nearly 100% distribution. So any type of promotion or couponing we wanted to do, our first call was to Keebler and to see if they could put a little message on their box or put a sticker on their box talking about our promotion. What this did is it drastically cut down our cost in communicating the promotion, and it also validated our brand because it associated us closely with Keebler. And people already had good, positive feelings about Keebler. So by associating ourselves with them, it had positive impact on our brand as well. So there's many ways to partner with a company to get the job done faster or more economically. And it could be part of your distribution system. It could be suppliers in production. So you need to take a look at your business, at your service, at your industry, and identify who out there can help to lighten your load. Now, the final step is execution and evaluation. The first thing you do is execute your plan. You've gone through all the steps. You've developed a tactical business plan, part of your go-to-market planning, and now you need to put the wheels into motion and begin to execute it. But along with that, you also need to evaluate it. You need to track your critical success drivers. And you need to determine what course of correction is needed if you're not getting the results you desire, or if things are changing internally for your company, or if something externally is changing. The right things to do today might not be the right things to do tomorrow. So you always need to evaluate your process. Part of this is also going to be validating some of your assumptions, even assumptions that you know to be true, but have never taken time to check or verify. And I'll give you a personal example of this. I worked in the pizza industry for a number of years, and it was common knowledge in the industry that kids love pizza. And if you do the research on it, you find, you know what? Kids actually do love pizza, and that is true. One of the other things that's common knowledge is the fact that kids love school pizza. And this has been verified. For the last 12 years, as long as it's been tested, pizza has topped the list of kids' favorite items for lunch. And chicken nuggets sometimes is a close second, sometimes a distant second, but pizza is always first. And as a result, people know that kids love school pizza. Well, I have 3 daughters, and I worked in the pizza industry. Every time they had pizza for lunch at school, I would join them. And I saw a lot of pizza left on the plate after lunch. I saw a lot of kids complaining about the pizza because they didn't think it was very good. So I went back and I said, you know what? I know pizza always tops the list on school lunch, but I don't think they like it all that much. So let's do some research. So I arranged 6 focus groups, and we talked to kids about school pizza. And the first focus group, they told us how much they love pizza. We asked them other questions about it, and the answer came out to be the same. You know what? Kids love school pizza. And I was a little anxious because I just spent a lot of money setting up 6 focus groups. The first one confirmed just what I did not believe to be true, is that kids love school pizza. So I spent some time that night, and I rearranged the questions, and I put in some different exercises. So the next morning at our focus group, one of the things we did is gave the kids Post-it notes. And one of the Post-it notes said restaurant pizza. One said takeout pizza. One said frozen pizza, and one said school pizza. And we had them put them up on the wall from, I like this the best, this is great, on one side, to, you know what, this product really isn't very good, or I don't like it very much, on the other side. And we had him put up the Post-it notes. And one of the kids gets up from his chair and starts walking for the door. And the moderator calls him back and says, Billy, do you need to go to the bathroom? And Billy says, no, I've got school pizza in my hands. I've got to get it as far away from restaurant pizza as possible, because this is horrible. Now, just 5 minutes before, Billy had been essentially leading the conversation on how much he loved school pizza, how much better than anything else it was at school that they had to eat. So what we were able to do is change his frame of reference and put pizza in context not of school food, but of the overall pizza category. And we got very different results. This held true for the next 4 focus groups. And it enabled us to develop and launch some very profitable products that were better tasting, more nutritious, and a little bit closer to restaurant pizza. So sometimes, even if you've done some work to validate your assumptions, take a look at what's in your heart. Do you really believe that to be true? And if not, take the next step to make sure you know what the right answer is. So that's the market-driven business strategy. In recap, we basically have 7 different steps. We start with the strategic vision. What is your vision of the preferred future? Next, we move on to the value proposition. What problem does your product or service solve, and why is that problem important? Next is customer targeting. Who is the core target for your product or service? And let's actually develop a bio or a persona that helps me better understand that person, almost feel like I know them. For product positioning, we need to define our competitive set in a way that's actionable. And then we need to differentiate our product in a way that's meaningful, relevant, and compelling to our core target based on our value proposition. For messaging strategy, it's all about how we communicate our product position. And the key question there is, how do I want my customers to think or behave differently after they hear what I have to say? Next, we go to the go-to-market plan. And that is developing a tactical plan to actually achieve our preferred future. One thing to consider there is, who else is targeting the same group of people or companies? And then how can I partner with them or align myself with them to lighten the load? And then execution and evaluation. Evaluation is all about validating some of the key assumptions we've made throughout the process. None of us has perfect information. Whether you're a big company or especially in a smaller company, we need to make a lot of assumptions. And that's okay. But we also need to understand what's a fact and what's an assumption, and then work to validate those assumptions as part of the process. I have used this process in large companies. I've used this process in small service companies and business-to-business companies. I've even used this process with friends who are looking for jobs, where they said, you know what, the product is me. My preferred future is finding a job. And my value proposition is the benefits or the value that I can add to my future employer. And going through the steps, it's the same thing. So I hope you will find this to be a robust model, and I hope it works for your future companies. Thank you.